Good afternoon, dear spectators. Thanks for joining this broadcast. Tomorrow, in Ukraine and globally, we'll celebrate World Refugee Day, which annually draws global attention to the issues of refugees, IDPs, and stateless persons. Actually, how many refugees are there globally? Are there in Ukraine? And what's the difference between IDPs and refugees? What is the situation in Ukraine at the moment? These topics will be discussed today with many interesting people during today's broadcast. I'm glad to introduce Mr. Pablo Mateo, the head of UNHCR Representative Office in Ukraine. Welcome, Mr. Mateo. Today we will also present a couple of new songs, in particular Gaetana's new song. Hello, Gaetana. I'm glad to welcome you. Dear colleagues, welcome. Pablo, I've got the first question to you. Recently, UNHCR reported the highest number of refugees globally. This is the highest number reported throughout the history. That's according to your agency's statistics. What are the reasons for this phenomenon and what crisis affected the number of refugees on the planet?
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for the invitation, and I am really honored to be here with two Ukrainians that I admire a lot, Gaetana, first of all, and then Alexei. I also admire you, the two of you, for your work. As you rightly mentioned, unfortunately, the news with respect to the number of persons who have been displaced around the world, it's not very good, because we are almost at 80 million, almost. You know, there's about 79.5 million persons who have been displaced. This statistics obviously is at the end of 2019. That number is a bit mixed, because some of them have been displaced inside their own country, right? And others are persons who have crossed the border, right? So there's about 29 million people who cross borders, a little bit more, almost 30 million. And there's 45.7 million who are displaced within their own country, right? Now, the increase is because there have been certain conflicts that have continued. For example, in Yemen, that led to more displacement. Also in the African countries in the region called the Sahel region, so Burkina Faso, Niger, Nigeria, there were new waves of displacement, including due to some terrorist groups that are operating there. The Venezuela situation has displaced a lot of people. And unfortunately, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, there's still some fighting that leads to displacement. The Syria situation also continues, and a lot of people have been displaced and continue to be displaced from Syria.
Indeed, it looks like the problem of refugees is a consequence of other crises arising all over the globe. Everything is connected on this planet. Gaetana, as far as I know, recently you have participated in a project dedicated to the World Refugee Day. It's clear you are not an official or UN agency representative. However, you represent the celebrities community, both Ukrainian and European. What was your motivation to participate in this project? What was your urge to call upon attention of the community, a major part of Ukrainians, to the problems, issues with refugees? As I was invited to participate, I realized that everyone can be a part of this problem and someday can become a refugee. Our relatives, our terrorists may face with this problem, and many of them do. In my family in Brazzaville, I know many people who were forced to get displaced, looking for some better life. In my native Ukraine, unfortunately, there are lots of acquaintances who face with this problem. War is a trigger for making people move. It is not possible for people to stay indifferent to these problems in our country. Of course, if there is an opportunity to focus on this problem, to demonstrate the sympathy and passion, everyone should do it through music, through open heart, through good deeds, through some funding, if possible. Today's world is totally unpredictable. I cannot say what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen to my child. Therefore, I want to do something to prevent these situations. Everyone has right to love and affection. Pablo, you know, it looks like practice of involving celebrities to discussion about major problems. You have just mentioned the statistics. It's terrible. So this involvement seems to be efficient. It looks a good strategy for communication. Is that true, or there are any additional solutions, any other ways to draw the attention to these problems? Your agency, does it cooperate with other celebrities, global celebrities?
Okay. Yes. For example, I am here with two of the best allies that the UN Refugee Agency can have. We have a very famous singer, and we have a very well-known journalist. So journalists and celebrities can be important allies, right? So globally, we have been able to count on the support of very famous people. Probably the most famous supporter of UNHCR is Angelina Jolie. We also count on the support of other actors like Ben Stiller, Kate Blanchett, also some famous models like Helena Christensen, who came to Ukraine in 2017 and who met with a lot of Ukrainians who are displaced. We also have singers. You know, we have a famous Japanese singer, you know, I mean, he's famous in the Asian region. And this is important because these people are famous, they are very popular, like Aitana, and therefore they can amplify our message, right? When I saw your video, Gaetana, in support of the health workers, I thought that this is something very important that people like you can do, right? To thank health workers, but also to somehow send a message about, you know, prevention and protection. In that case, against the coronavirus, right? But you can also send similar messages about protecting displaced persons.
Definitely, we will watch this video a bit later, and it's a small announcement for our spectators. So, Gaetana, I'd like to know, when are you motivated to make posts in Instagram and social media? You as a celebrity, as a singer, when are you motivated to write on socially important topics? I do it by the call of my heart. The heart knows when and what to do. When I feel the pain, you do not make any plans of speeches in support of somebody. If you feel that somebody needs support, if your heart is not made of stone, it does respond. In case of coronavirus, I sang the song Spasibo, thank you. That was the case. I realized that I have to do whatever I can. I have no enough funding to procure the pulmonary support devices. But what can I do? If I just say thank you once in social media, it won't be enough. As a singer, I can express my thoughts and feelings in music, in songs, for everyone to send these words of support like a postcard to the healthcare professional, because everyone has medical workers who need support, and thus we got the reaction. It's great when heart is feeling, is loving, and this love is untreacherous. I was asked to sing a song, You Are Not the One. Again, this is emotion. You experience the pain, and you remember the eyes of people, of suffering people who flee from war, from hostilities, from destruction. And yet then you draw a parallel and you feel as if this is happening to you personally. And it's very terrifying. Thank you, Gaetano. Thank you for participating in our program. We, together with Pablo and our spectators, watch your song, your creation. Yes, it's our creation, actually, and many thanks for your participation. See you again in this studio. Thanks for this participation in the event dedicated to the World Refugee Day. Thank you for invitation. I will be glad to help with my songs and my love. Okay, now let's watch the video.
Кожному із нас буває важко, кожному знайомі почуття, небезпека в серці і страх. І здається, щастя ще далеко, жити без любові нам нелегко, гасне віра у очах, в очах. Склади літак зі своїх мрій, хай летить на крилах із надій, підійми і відпусти, нехай летить до мети. І здається, щастя недалеко, жити без любові нам нелегко, хай не гасне віра у очах. А люди в світі щирі є, і в них любов понад усе. Лети, не зупиняйся й вір, ти не один, ти вже багато подолав, ти падав, але знов злітав, тобі твій досвід сил дає, надія й досі в тобі живе. Кожен новий ранок – це твій шанс, і не варто витрачати час, бо майбутнє у твоїх руках, у твоїх руках. Твоє щастя зовсім недалеко, жити без любові нам нелегко, але віра є в твоїх очах. Лети до своїх мрій без меж, ти щастя там своє знайдеш, і серце більш не розіб'єш. Ти не один, ти вже багато подолав, ти падав, але знов ставав, тобі твій досвід сил дає. Йди на світло, бо там твій дім, там не буде самотньо. Бажання всі тісни, і щастя ти своє знайди. А люди щирі в світі є, і в них любов понад усе. Лети, не зупиняйся й вір, ти не один, ти вже багато сил дає. Кожному із нас буває важко, кожному знайомі почуття, небезпека в серці і страх. І здається, щастя ще далеко, жити без любові нам нелегко, гасне віра у очах, в очах.
And now we have the Skype connection with our studio. So we have Natalia Naumenko. She's the first deputy head of State Migration Service of Ukraine. So Natalia, good afternoon. Good afternoon, dear spectators. Good afternoon, dear studio. So Miss Natalia, today we discussed the situation of refugees before actually this International Refugee Day that happened tomorrow. So in Ukraine, how the situation is going and how does the global environment affect Ukrainian situation? How does it affect the refugee problem in Ukraine? So, fortunately, all the migration crisis that touched European countries, it did not affect that hard. It did not affect our country that hard. So we cannot say that we have this huge flow of migrants and refugees from Europe to Ukraine, and we cannot say that there is an outburst of foreigners who really want to leave Ukraine, looking for better life elsewhere. Of course, we've been preparing, we prepare, and we will prepare. That sooner or later, I think we will observe the situation, the drastic growth of people who really would request the migration service units. And this readiness, of course, who supports us, the UNHCR representative in Ukraine, they do help us a lot, and we together improve the procedures. We jointly train our employees, our staff, improve their competence, improve their qualification. We also design the draft laws. And I want to draw the attention of all of you that in Verkhovna Rada, upon the initiative of MPs, there is a draft law that is registered already, and I do hope that we'll start the consideration procedure by the Committee of Verkhovna Rada. It will be brought to the MPs, to the hall for their consideration, and we'll have serious improvement on of the procedure and how to actually define who the refugee is, the status. And we, of course, have the experts of UNHCR involved, and huge gratitude. So what's happening in Ukraine? I just want to say that it's a complicated situation for migrants and for Ukrainian citizens and for IDPs as well. This is all really very difficult right now, and they live in this reality, in this hard socioeconomic situation, and they do face the same problems that we actually do face. So I just want to say that for us to solve all these problems is not just about the authorities. It's not just a matter of authorities. It's not just a matter important for UNHCR, human rights activists, international organizations. This is about the multilateral dialogue. So we need to have the dialogue between the activists, between the states, international institutions, and of course those who seek protection and shelter. So it depends on how ready they are to integrate, to change their life, to change their environment, to integrate, to adapt. If they're ready to live, to create, to give birth to their children, to seek for a better future. But of course, our state together with the national institutions, we must maximize the support, provide maximum support, facilitate creation of certain conditions for them, favorable conditions. I can just tell you today that we move towards this very specific goal. We want to create transparent, clear, understandable procedures on actually granting the status of the refugee. We are ready to guarantee the protection. Providing access to different services as well, this is very important, but we have serious gaps, huge gaps, serious problems when it comes to integration. And I tell you, I'm very frank, I'm very sincere, because I saw that in many institutions, domestic and international. So some gaps are still there. Of course, the labor market, this is one of the problems. Social services, access to social services, access to education. I just want to say that integration program 2020, it's not efficient. This program actually showed us that we do have a lot of gaps, that there is no proper communication between different authorities at different levels, and of course legislative gaps are there and discrepancies, and we do hope, we do expect that in Verkhovna Rada, as I mentioned, we already registered the draft law, and I do hope the procedures will be improved with that, and also access to services. This is very important. So for IDPs and refugees, just briefly about the situation, what we have with refugees in Ukraine. Natalia, thank you so much for this very interesting answer. So you briefly mentioned the cooperation with the UNHCR in Ukraine, so please, can you explain a couple of minutes maybe from you, give us a couple of minutes, do you get results from this cooperation for Ukrainian Migration Service, State Migration Service? Not just... Well, when we talk about cooperation with UNHCR, I just tell that Ukraine should already start, you know, not refusing maybe, but should rethink how it gets the financial support. Of course, UNHCR supports State Migration Service. It does not provide that huge financial support it used to provide in the beginning when it only entered Ukrainian environment, and maybe we don't need it already. So we are really grateful for UNHCR supporting those who seek protection, refugees directly, because they have a name, they have certain target audience, of course. We have a grant program which allows refugees to find themselves, to find better future in Ukraine, to develop their business, run their business, and to get some better opportunities. There is something very valuable that UNHCR provides to Ukraine. Constructive criticism. I don't know how it will sound to you, and constructive partnership. So constructive criticism is that UNHCR does not gives us an opportunity. It gives us an opportunity to focus on that problems that we have in this area. So we don't stagnate. We actually move forward, and it gives us an opportunity to talk to our European partners with the help of different programs, through different programs as tools. Gives an opportunity to build the dialogue with the Geneva office of UNHCR, and it's not our task to always agree with this position, and UNHCR should not always agree with us, with Migration Service, of course. Quite often Migration Service says no to some offers provided by UNHCR, but I'm really grateful that we have this constructive dialogue. Even when we criticize each other, we argue, sometimes very harshly, but usually the result is a certain product. We always had an efficient product. So a draft law, for example, change in procedures, amendments, change of guidelines. What else can be a product? Our employees can efficiently talk, productively talk with UNHCR staff, with human rights activists, with NGOs, and look for certain support, help, involve their experts, and quite quickly, and it happens very quickly. And I think, in my opinion, this is a more positive result if we compare to any financial help provided, because it builds the foundation for us to move independently, to build our position, our opinion, our structure, to look for any resources on our own, to use these resources. And I think that we efficiently manage it. We managed to handle it within the last 2-3 years, but if we lack certain resources, we always lack resources when we need to build such structures. So UNHCR gives us some clues, you know, tells us, and I think this is really a positive cooperation. Thank you, Natalia. Thank you for your answers. Natalia Naumenko, First Deputy Head of State Migration Service Ukraine. So she was at Skype with us. So this is Hromadske. Thank you. So right now I'd like to welcome the studio Armando Bella Costa. Armando is a musician from Congo. He moved to Ukraine in 2012 to study French philology in Odessa, and he had, unfortunately, to require protection here into Migration Service of Ukraine because there was an unstable situation in his country. He's fan of R&B, style, rap, pop. He's a composer, and he usually takes very active part in concerts and music festivals in Ukraine. And here is Noda. He moved to Ukraine in 2011 due to political persecution in his country. He's an artist. He sings in African folk band and he goes to Christian church. He's married and has a small daughter. And right now, let's pass the floor to them.
Un homme faible que Dieu a donné la force d'être debout. Bala Costa. Ces temps de blessures. Yeah. Ces temps de blessures, je ne les ai pas vu venir. Au lieu de consommer les années m'ont consommé. Ces temps de blessures, j'avais des yeux rougis, mais jamais je laissais ni seule goutte de larmes me trahir. Ces temps de blessures, j'ai quitté une communauté, car beaucoup dans leur chambre disaient au président ils sans papier. Ces temps de blessures, on criait l'union fait la force, de pessimistes traduisés par l'union fait la fausse. Ces temps de blessures, je donnais mon temps aux autres, oubliant que j'avais une profession qui faisait course au temps. Ils avaient tort, ceux qui pensaient faire mieux à ta place. Mais pourquoi prendre par la force c'est que d'autres ont mérité par les actes. Ces temps de blessures, et tout semblait faire mal. Moi au téléphone avec des darons, je faisais comme tout était normal. Ces temps de blessures, je quittais King, trop des hermies. Et depuis que je suis parti, ce n'est qu'à la cam que je revois la famille. Ces temps de blessures, j'ai vu flotter la voile d'un talent. Le parcours revenant d'un vrai combattant. De médailles j'en ai gagné aussi. J'ai beaucoup appris de la vie. J'ai perdu des amants et j'ai connu de faux amis. Ces temps de blessures, j'ai eu un pied cassé et beaucoup m'ont lâché. L'avenir avait sombré, mais grâce à la foi, les lumières sont revenues sur des sentiers. Et pour ces gosses, papa et maman n'ont pas cessé de se sacrifier. Ces temps de blessures, au pays des femmes, j'ai pas oublié ma veste. Dans cette vie des fans, j'ai appris des leçons dans toutes les défaites. Le voyage n'a fait que pousser l'âge, mais n'a pas pu prendre mon cœur. Je préfère crever que prendre l'argent de gens et faire la fête. Ces temps de blessures, je restais nostalgique. J'ai trouvé ma propre définition, la vie, ose et agis. Ces temps de blessures, beaucoup m'ont quitté, des trahisons, de coups sur moi. Je les ai encaissés, ces temps de bêtises, où des frères m'ont sali, de sœurs m'ont trompé, à cause des, aujourd'hui la confiance je sais plus ce que c'est. Ces temps de blessures, j'ai décidé de partir dans la solitude, afin de soigner mes propres blessures. Ces temps de blessures, je ne changerai en ces temps de plaisir. Je chanterai pour donner le sourire à mes 7 ans de fissures. Ces temps de fissures, je serai comme Ali. Ces temps de blessures, tomber comme Ali, yeah. Ces temps de blessures, finirai-je tremblant comme Ali à cause des coups. Ces temps de blessures, Dieu seul m'a donné la force de rester debout. Aïe, baby, aïe, baby, aïe, yeah. Lorsque tu parles des autres, as-tu vraiment des mots justes? Ces temps de blessures, j'ai fait des tubes, ils kiffent mais ignorent l'artiste. Ces temps de blessures, j'ai fait foi l'impossible qui pour advienne. Je serai ingrat si je ne dis pas merci à tous ceux qui me soutiennent. Je serai ingrat si je ne dis pas merci à Yao. Je serai ingrat si je ne dis pas merci à frère Noda. Je serai ingrat si je ne dis pas merci à Adèle, à Trésor. Je serai ingrat si je ne dis pas merci à Audrey Moussenga. Je serai ingrat si je ne dis pas merci à Elie. Ces temps de blessures, Dieu seul m'a donné la force de rester debout. Ces temps de blessures, merci à tout le monde. Merci à mes frères d'Odessa, à mes frères de Kiev. Merci, ces temps de blessures. Alléluia.
Thanks, Armando, for your song. Now tell our spectators and listeners who do not speak French what this song is about. I wrote this song about tough life. It's called 7 Years of Injuries, because when I arrived to Ukraine, it was a tough time for me. I didn't know the language. It was a strange country. I had to survive somehow. It's so hard when your family, your dad, your mom are far away from you, when you are so lonely. I didn't know how to survive. I did not actually starve, but it was a very hard time for me. So now we are watching US protests because of racism, and we observe the attempts of people fighting for their rights. And what about you? Do you feel any discrimination in Ukraine towards you? Well, I have lots of friends. I work with Ukrainians. I think people are not the same. Sometimes I meet people who are not fond of me. Sometimes people are friendly, but I believe there will be no place for racism in future on our planet, because people want to live peacefully. Yes, let's believe and let's invest most efforts into this. And now let's give some space to Noda on this stage. Thank you.
Wakula kudiva kuteleje kanyemesha tatwa tulandila amba malu mianja ya ditunga twetu bonso yo ikulu amushingaji kujipa mfumu beshingani joja kijibi kajoja nekale bubatulonga ba mutukaye kidifukinya myanda butu batu yaya tu batu koki transition yo ni bwale bwabu Mopila yo leleo kabali solo ndeko tokolanda e Mopila yo leleo kabali solo ndeko tokolanda e Bona likambo ekolo bana mboka mitema likolo Bakamzi balobi boni basali lisusu boni Bakotala wapi e toko kende wapi Mosika touti waka lelo pe pasi kaka Bona transition tolingi toyeba verite Mopila e leleo kabali solo ndeko tokolanda e Mopila yo leleo kabali solo ndeko tokolanda hi Bona likambo ekolo bana mboka mitema likolo Bakambi balobi boni basali lisusu boni Bakotala wapi e toko kende wapi Mosika touti kaka lelo pe pasi kaka Bona transition tolingi toyeba verite Mopila e Iyo Mopila utatu akule Iyo lele kanyemesha tatu akule Iyo Mopila utatu akule Iyo lele kanyemesha tatu akule Iyo Mopila wewe mutu Mopila Iyo Mopila wewe mutu Mopila Akula Mopila Akula Mopila Akula Mopila Mopila yo leleo kabali solo ndeko tokolanda e Mopila yo leleo kabali solo ndeko tokolanda e Bona likambo ekolo bana mboka mitema likolo Bakambi balobi boni basali lisusu boni Bakotala wapi e toko kende wapi Mosika touti kaka lelo pe pasi kaka Bona transition tolingi toyeba verite Mopila e putulu ya lobi bozwi ya se zande mopembe molimo nayo esengeli obatela mwana mama ye kumisaka nkolo mwana mama ye kumisaka nkolo mwana mama ye kumisaka nkolo. Sozomona ezande koleka kitokwa lelo putulu ya lobi bozwi ya se ezande mopepe molimo nayo esengeli obatela mwana mama ye kumisaka nkolo kumisaka nkolo mwana mama ye kumisaka nkolo kumisaka nkolo. Misaka kolo, wabe wabe waba, misaka kolo, uraka yamana rome yameraba, misaka kolo, misaka kolo. Okenda kabo kulaka, malembe malembe, maya bazua, maya bazua, basuka ne wapi. Tokende lola elili ya pamba salangele payo koke molimo na yo esengeli obatela wabe waba umisaka nkolo yama rome yama gaba umisaka nkolo kama yama some mranda yaba umisaka nkolo yapa Kodogan Dogan, Kodogan, Yebawo, Kodogan, Kodogan, Yebawo, Kodogan, Yakarama Yabalaba, Kodogan, Yebawo, Kodogan, Yebarada, Kodogan, Yebawo, Kodogan. Basuka de otokende lola elili ya papa salangele payo koke amolimo na yo yaba yabe waba umisaka nkolo rome yama kaba umisaka nkolo rame yabe bwa umisaka nkolo. Baba kumisa yewa kumisa oya mama robi ya baba yewa kumisa oya mama kumisa yewa kumisa ya mama kumisa yewa kumisa omokelina nyonso yewa kumisa ya mama kumisa yewa kumisa ya mama kumisa yewa kumisa.
Nada, thanks for this song. Thanks for bright emotions you gave us. What is this song about? Please explain it for our audience. This song we have just performed is called Mopila. Mopila is a driver, a car driver. I write songs for everyone, for authorities, for the president, for supervisors who they are high above, and a person who is hungry, who is studying, has nowhere to go. And what happens next, nobody knows. So you drove away like a driver to Ukraine, and how did you get adapted? At first it was not easy. I didn't speak neither Russian nor Ukrainian. It was difficult with employment. Today it is a bit better than yesterday. And what's your job? I work at the furniture company for years already. I know how to produce furniture. And what was the second song about? It was about the choice. Life is a choice. It's choosing between your plans and expectations. Life is either right or left. It's about important things in your life, important choices in your life you have to make. Right, it's absolutely clear, crystal clear. Thank you very much for these wonderful songs. Thanks a lot. And now I would like to watch together with you a short video from the head of UNHCR, from the High Commissioner, Mr. Filippo Grandi. He will discuss trends regarding refugees.
And right now, I'd like to give you the words of Secretary General UN Antonio Guterres, who made some brief conclusion on the situation, global situation of refugees in the world. So almost 80 million of women, men and children all around the world had to leave their homes, and they became refugees or IDPs. And the most shocking is the fact that within the last year we've added 10 million people to this status. So tomorrow we have the International Refugee Day, and we will do all the possible, all we can, to finish these conflicts and repressions that make people run away. And right now we actually express our gratitude to communities in countries who are so generous. Despite their problems, they still take these people and protect them. So we have to demonstrate our gratitude to these states, support them financially. We must urge to restore the integrity of the system, to protect the refugees, to fulfill our commitments that we've took for the refugees to get the best support they can ever get. So this year, in 2020, COVID-19 is another threat posed to such a vulnerable category as refugees and IDPs. In analytical note on COVID-19, I actually stated that all governments should respond to COVID-19 properly. So IDPs and refugees, they also are involved actively to counteract COVID-19. Bangladesh camps, European hospitals, refugees work as nurses, scientists, doctors, and they also perform other functions. They protect themselves, they actually pay the debt to their communities. So we are grateful for their support, for their creativity, and also we want to make their lives better. They want to make their own lives better and the lives of their communities. And we realize that this is our biggest commitment: protect those who want to protect themselves by fleeing. So Pablo, we heard this wonderful concert, we've had these performances today, and we talked about very serious things in this hour. So please do share your impressions about these performances. Maybe you have some more opinions concerning the situation, global situation of refugees, and all the answers that we heard today from our guests.
I think that the concert showed how much potential refugees and asylum seekers have, right? This is just a very small sample of, the many skills that refugees and asylum seekers bring to a country. Music is one of them, but, among them there are also, medical staff, graphic designers, cooks. So it's a wealth of skills and experience that they bring, and they can definitely contribute a lot to a country like Ukraine. So my message is that we need to support persons who have been forcibly displaced, but more than that, we have to see them as people like you and me, people who can contribute to a country, people who have families, people who have, musical skills, etc. So that would be my message.
Thank you for this broadcast. Thank you for your participation. And for our spectators, I'd like to get some more voices today of those refugees that we have here in Ukraine, for them to be heard. And the following video is really very bright. So we'll finish with it. Thank you so much. And thank you for your participation. Goodbye. So my name is Matundo Federico. My name is Hanna. My name is Rahav. So we live in Ukraine. I want to say that this is a wonderful big country. I live in Kiev. This is a very wonderful city, beautiful city. When I only came here, I liked it very much. And chestnuts. I love how the chestnuts do blossom because I've never seen that, I love to walk in Krещатик, music shows and fountains. I love it. Beautiful, very beautiful Kiev. I just love to see the Dnipro and walk. It's always interesting. The Beton bridge, I like to cross the Dnipro all the time. Everything looks so great. It's fantastic. Ukrainian nature is very harmonious. It's beautiful. I think this is really miraculous. It's beautiful, it's clean, it's really great. They say that Ukrainian Carpathians are so beautiful. I love mountains and I plan to go there actually, and I will do. I want to go to Lviv. I heard it's really marvelous. Last summer I went to Odessa and the weather was not very warm, so I did not bathe in the sea, but I was walking. Odessa is really, I fell in love with that. So Ukrainians, they're very smart people. Huge planes they do build, helicopters, they design bridges. So many prominent sportsmen from Ukraine we do have, like Klitschko brothers, Vasyl Lomachenko, Jan Belenyuk, Alexander Usyk. So these are the stars, celebrities. I like to read a lot about customs and traditions of Ukrainians and Ukrainian vyshyvanka. This is really beautiful. This is the national dress. So I love Ukrainian borscht because this is really tasty. It's really good. And also vareniki, of course. Yeah, that's good. With cottage cheese, I do love it. With potatoes, mashed potatoes and cherries. Oh, and sour cream, of course, to be added. Very good, very good. I love to listen to Ukrainian music very much. Ukrainians, they have very nice songs and they do sing very nice. So Ukrainian language is wonderful. It's so smooth, especially Lina Kostenko. This is my favorite poet. All in my life is called one word, Ukraine. It seems to me I'm blind from here and stop amazed when seeing all these wonders, beloved blue skies and fields and what is more. All these are so beautiful, just simple things, these roads, sycamores, all in my life. Ukraine is my soul. Eternal beauty and its innocence inspire me to stop and speak to God. I'm so grateful that I live here, and I love Ukraine. I love Ukraine. I love Ukraine. I love Ukraine.